Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be doing an album review. I'm going to be taking a look at this record today, which is a new album. Just came out a couple weeks ago there. It is Gary by Blossoms. So yes, I'll just be doing my usual thing in this video. A bit of background information about the album, then showing you my vinyl copy of it here, and then looking at each of the album songs in detail. Okay, so this is the band's 5th studio album, like as I said, released just last Friday there, so the 20th of September in 2024, of course. This record sees them once again working with James Skelly off the Coral as a producer. However, there's been a bit of a change with the band. They've left Virgin Records and instead have set up their own record label called Odd SK, which I only just recently learned from my friend Ollie Saunders video that is actually the band's surname initials kind of spelled out which is quite cool. But yeah, so they've got their own record label now, and I've not really heard any reasons why or that they've decided to leave Virgin Records. I guess my kind of guess possibly would be the fact that on Virgin, they kind of didn't sort of continue to grow in success kind of thing. They're still playing the same kind of size sort of venues, O2 sort of venues and that. They've not really graduated into being an arena sort of band kind of thing. And they were maybe perhaps, I guess, a bit disappointed with the commercial performance of their last album, which did get to number 1, but only spent 2 weeks in the top 100 chart compared to the 6+ weeks of their first couple of albums, which seemed to have a bit more chart longevity. So yeah, it was perhaps that, but anyway, they decided to go it alone, set up their own record label. So in addition to Skelly as producer, you've got a couple of other outsiders contributing to the album for the first time in Blossom's career. So you've got a guy called Josh Lloyd Watson from an outfit called Jungle, as well as an Irish singer-songwriter CMAT, who collaborate with Blossoms for 2 songs each on this album. The album represents a kind of welcome return to kind of the 5 members of the band playing live in the studio. I think 2022's Ribbon Around the Bomb was either recorded remotely, or it certainly has that kind of feel to it, kind of thing, because obviously kind of still coming out of COVID kind of times when that album was being made. But this one here is them wanting to get back in the studio, recording together, really capturing that sort of energy of a band in a room, and they definitely achieved that on this album. So far since its release, it has got pretty positive reviews across the board. A lot of 4-star reviews basically from all the major music publications. Not really seen any kind of sort of really bad reviews, but certainly not seen any kind of 5-star reviews saying it's a absolute masterpiece either. It's also on course for reaching number 1 in the UK charts as well. In the midweek update, it is at number 1. I'm filming this on the Wednesday, so we'll probably know whether it's got to number 1 kind of before this video comes out. Hoping that this would be their 3rd consecutive number 1 album. So anyway, I will try to show you my vinyl copy of it here, which is the Aside Records exclusive. So they're a Scottish-based record shop, and they do their own kind of exclusive kind of Obi strip version. So you can see this one here is number 8 of 300, and it's signed by all the band as well there, which is really, really, really nice. So there's the cover there, spelling out Gary, of course, very much influenced, copying the Beatles' Help album there. This Obi strip is lovely, but it does slightly ruin the gatefold a little bit because it basically covers up the entirety of Tom, which is a bit of a shame, but it's still nice to get a nice lovely gatefold there. And then you also get with this a booklet as well here, which is really nice. So apparently all this kind of writing here, around the kind of band photos, was inspired by David Bowie's Hunky Dory album. Has a very similar kind of artwork theme to that, both on this lyric book, and these were all handwritten by Tom. He must have spent bloody ages writing out all his lyrics there, and then the track list there as well. And the record itself is just in a plain black sleeve, but this is, as I said, the indie exclusives one, so it's on a lovely clear vinyl with this kind of sort of black kind of splatter dot there. So overall, the album itself is, yeah, really, really nicely packaged. Okay, so I'll now go over each of the album's tracks in detail. So I'll score each song out of 10 and then use those scores to give us a overall percentage marking for the album. Okay, so the first song on here is called Big Star. Now this one is a strong opening song, I feel. Begins with a very kind of quite raw sounding guitar kind of riff, which just sounds great, really pops out the speakers. And my first thought with this was actually the band Big Star, kind of like 70s kind of cult band, like themselves kind of thing. But it's not a song about them, basically. It's instead about a kind of budding musician or actor, possibly, about kind of meeting a kind of famous journalist by the name of Marvin, and kind of thinking that this could be like your big break. He sings in it, Marvin, you could shoot me here in the chateau, recreate the ones of Marilyn Monroe, Jim Morrison in the wardrobe, he sings. But then kind of sort of as the song goes on, this kind of admiration kind of turns to like turns a bit to like ambivalence, kind of like the last line of it is, do I really want to be a big star, kind of ending the song. I mean, possibly hints at something a bit more sinister kind of thing in terms of like things like kind of like the Me Too movement and all that kind of like Harvey Weinstein kind of stuff like that, possibly. Or maybe I'm reading a bit too much into this kind of like manipulation, like of kind of like people wanting to sort of become like successful at that, possibly. But maybe I'm reading like a bit too much into it there. But I still think it is a great song. Really, really kicks off the album well, I think. Okay, so next up on the album is called What Can I Say After I'm Sorry, which is one of the two tracks on here co-produced by John Lloyd Watson of Jungle. It's got a great prominent bass line on it, like from Charlie Salt. Very kind of, it's just got a kind of cool, sophisticated kind of sheen to like this whole track. Very cleanly produced, but just really, really, really good stuff. Lyrically, it's a kind of breakup song with some great quality lines, like in like the verses about sort of feeling like I'm only around half that's like half the time kind of thing. I'm feeling down, all the simple things now seem to fill my head with doubts, like they sing like on it. This was the lead-off single for the album, like as well, so it came out like a good couple of months ago now. But it's not a song which I particularly liked, like as a single. I never really paid it too much attention, just kind of maybe heard it once and didn't really think much of it. But I really think it works on the album, like kind of thing. Like I think it's like a really solid track, like on the album. So yeah, I would be giving that one a 9 out of 10. Okay, and then we get the title track, Gary, which is a really fun piece of kind of jangle pop, really. It's a kind of, yeah, quite a fun, kind of like irreverent song that's about the kind of disappearance of like an 8-foot tall plastic gorilla from a Scottish garden centre, which a bit of a viral news story for a couple of weeks in kind of like 2023 sometime. And I must say that when this was another single, came out like, again a couple of months before the album. I must say, when it first came out, I wasn't crazy about it. I just thought it was a bit musically a bit blossoms by numbers, and the lyrics just a bit too kind of funny and kind of nonsense for like their own good. But I must say, I've come to really like this track, and again, I think it works on the album. It actually reminds me a bit now of like the lyrical viewpoint, like of some Beatles tracks, things like Maxwell Silver Hammer or Lovely Rita, where it's kind of telling a story kind of thing, or even some of like the kind of more wacky 10cc sort of songs. It's got a kind of, yeah, like although it is about this kind of funny kind of subject, yeah, like a 8-foot gorilla kind of getting nicked kind of thing, it does also have a real kind of sense of like melancholic to it as well, with kind of lines about kind of like the owner like of the garden centre, Mr. Scott, pleading, don't forget about me, Gary, sort of sings on it. And there's a great, and then the last line talks about like as the headlines fade on the tabloid press, one day they'll find Gary. And I think that those final lines just really like I think like even though the song is just about like this gorilla going missing, I think it is quite a good statement actually on the kind of like the state of the tabloid press and how they will move very quickly on from a story, like even if it doesn't sort of reach like a satisfactory conclusion. Like in this particular case, I think Gary was found a couple of months later sawed in half, so it didn't end too well for Gary. But no, it is a really good song. This has really grown on me again, and it's just very catchy and audio bubblegum really, because it's just so cleanly produced, just very pleasant on the ears, I think. So yeah, Gary would get a 9 out of 10 as well. Don't get me wrong, I am a strong believer in a hold it down. Okay, next up is called I Like Your Look. Now, this one is probably the most left field track on the album. So this is a collaboration with Irish singer-songwriter called CMAT, and it is a exuberant, in-your-face, very 80s infused sort of track here, basically sort of about fashion and the catwalk, with lines which, very much don't take themselves like too seriously. Things like, gonna put me in the White House because I'm the president of style, gonna paint the Oval Office pink and the hill with denim tiles, they sing on it, and it kind of names checks Gucci and Vogue and that like in it, and I must say again, this is a song which came out I think the day before the album possibly, and I thought, no, I don't like this. They've gone too far here, kind of thing. But I actually, again, I've come to really enjoy the track. I think like the contribution of CMAT really works on this. I think her and Todd Ogden's voice blend really well, and they've got some great vocal interplay like on like this track here. Very much a song, should be taken like with tongue in cheek. Much like a lot of this album, it's got a sense of humour to it. Yes, it is quite campy. It's not like anything Blossoms like really done before, and I think with this track I do just kind of appreciate them trying something different, trying to be different, and I think it does work for like what it is. So I Like Your Look will get an 8 out of 10 from me. Down at the nightclub, maybe you could bring us in. Okay, next up on the album is called Nightclub. Now, this is, for me, the weakest track on the album. It's definitely the closest I would say the album gets like a filler song, really. It feels very similar to the last track in it's kind of got this kind of cool, kind of dancey sort of feel to it, but it almost doesn't like at the same time. It does just feel a bit boring, this, like at the same time, like as well. This is another one of those tracks produced by Josh Lloyd Watson of Jungle, and it's got kind of a fun kind of narrative lyric to it, I guess, about a group trying to sort of get into like a nightclub, but kept getting like turned away by like the doorman and that, and kind of wanted to just kind of sneak in to avoid like a half-a-mile queue kind of thing. But it's just not a captivating song, I don't think, and I think it definitely it fits the mood of the album, fits the vibe really well, but it just doesn't really add anything much like to the album. So I will give it a 6 out of 10. Maybe being a bit harsher, I could maybe increase it to a 7, but I would say a 6 because probably beyond kind of listening to this album for this review, this isn't a track I'm really going to go back to much, I don't think. Okay, so we then flip over the album, and side 2 kicks us off with the track Perfect Me. So this one is a great song, again, another one of the singles from the album. This is a really fast-paced track, this one here, particularly like the lyrics as well. It's kind of going all steam ahead kind of thing, and it's kind of stream of consciousness sort of lyrics about basically about the pressures like of society and kind of sort of fitting in and trying to be perfect kind of thing, and the kind of like the competing demands that this can often like throw up. They sing like back yourself but modestly, show your friends empathy, make more time for family, go somewhere you've never been. He kind of sings like in like quick succession and that. It's got a real punch to it musically, like I think, energetic synth parts on it. The introduction of this particularly reminds me a bit of the Who song You Better You Bet, just the way the synth kind of fades in, and then the kind of song kind of builds out like from that, as well as the kind of fast-paced vocals of that. I could really see this song becoming like a live favourite like of like their set. So Perfect Me, another really good song. Okay, next up is called Mothers. Now this one is another really great song. Lyrically, this one is kind of touches on the friendship, the personal friendship between singer like Tom Ogden and the drummer Joe Donovan. And there's a great line like on it. I think it starts with "My God, you've always had my back," with a Diet Coke and a Mentos pack, and then it kind of both kind of looks at their current friendship, and then the chorus sort of goes back in time to when their mothers were kind of friends, sort of thing. He sings like, "Our mothers said they were friends back in the 80s, seen old photos of them, they wore the same things," and then kind of mentions like they danced to the Smiths and Rick Astley like in like the club sort of thing. Of course, kind of a wee cheeky reference there to sort of two acts like Blossoms have kind of become quite associated with over kind of the past couple of like years. But then also looks to the kind of future like as well. There's a great line like when I'm 70 and living in New York and my accents change kind of thing. And I just think it is a really good song, really nice, wholesome song, I think. Musically as well, you've kind of production-wise, a very airy production. You've got kind of a lot of overdub backing vocals. Again, giving kind of 10cc, I'm Not In Love kind of vibes like on this for me. But no, another very, very good song, Mothers there, would get a 9 out of 10. Okay, next up is Cinnamon. Now, this is a song which probably, unlike a lot of the album, where I kind of was okay at first and then it's really grown on me. This was probably a track which was my favourite when I first heard the album, but it's probably slowly kind of gone down a little bit, like in like my estimation. It's a more kind of again kind of acoustic based kind of jangle pop track, akin to really reminds me a lot of the Smiths' Cemetery Gates, the kind of fastly strummed like kind of like acoustic guitar riff like on it, and lyrically it's a kind of boy meets girl kind of love song kind of thing about kind of falling in love with a girl who's new wave mad and sort of falling in love like in like a record store to the soundtrack of the reference Squeeze, Cool for Cats, and like the Goo Goo Dolls like as well. I mean, as I said, initially a favourite like on first listen, but yeah, I think it's just slightly gone down in my estimation. I think my problem with it is just the chorus a little bit. I think it's a bit weaker, talking about things like I could eat you like an edible, they call me cynical, I needed a miracle. It's all just a little bit kind of rhyming for rhyming's sake kind of thing. And it's that's maybe the weaker thing like with this song, and because it's the chorus, it comes around like a few times. So I would give Cinnamon a 7 out of 10 overall. Then we close the album with probably my two favourite tracks on the whole thing. So we get Slow Down, which is just a great pop song, I think. It's another very silky, smooth kind of track with a real strong groove to it, this one here. And I just love this. We're straight into the chorus, like with some great lyrics which concern sort of not rushing things like in like a relationship and kind of working through difficulties kind of slowly. He sort of sings like real intimacy is frowning from the backseat. Said get your shit together and make time for one another. Love requires patience, a two-way conversation. It just flows really well. It's just got again that cool kind of sheen to it, and yeah, it has just become a real favourite of mine like on the album. So yeah, Slow Down I would be given a 10 out of 10 to. Why do I give you the worst of me? And then the album closes off with a track called Why Do I Give You the Worst of Me. Now this is an abrasive, almost, I was going to say punky track, but it's punk if you did it with synthesizers kind of thing, because it's kind of like I said, it's very kind of full fat kind of production, this one here. Another one which is another collaboration with the with CMAT on this, but this is completely different to their other collaboration like on this album, which I think really is like a great thing, you know, that it's not just two kind of carbon copy songs, you know, they're doing two very different things like with like their two collaborations, which I think works really well. Again, yeah, it's got a kind of, this song for me has got real edge and real anger to it, which you don't really hear from Blossoms too often, and it's kind of lyrics where the anger is kind of directed at the kind of singer like himself, sort of like regretting sort of like the way that he's kind of behaved sort of selfishly and that, and apparently it's quite autobiographical, this one here, which could kind of explain why kind of like Ogden sounds so invested and so passionate like with like this track here. I just think it is one of their kind of finest moments really. My only gripe with it is just how it ends. It ends so suddenly, and I think it is just the fact that it is the closing track, you know, like I would have maybe liked a kind of proper ending on it possibly. I think this song would have worked well like as a penultimate track like on the album, and then if they maybe tagged on like another track possibly, because again it is quite a short record this. It is only like barely over half an hour like in length, so possibly could have done with like another track on it, and this one just feels almost too sudden like as an ending. But I get it, it works in the context like of like the song, which is great. So like Why Don't I Give You the Worst of Me will get a 10 out of 10. Okay, so overall this album would score 86%. So I think this is a really, really, really great record here, like from Blossoms, a real grower like off an album, and like as well, even though I've only had it like less than a week, like, you know, it's definitely an album which I can see myself coming back to like a fair bit. In terms of how it compares to some of their other albums, I would say it's probably not quite as good as Foolish Loving Spaces from 2020, but as I say, it's definitely a lot stronger than Ribbon Around the Ball, which just kind of quite that album had quite a forgettable second half, but this one I think is stronger, consistent all the way through, and like if anything gets better like only as like it goes on, like with like those last two closing tracks being like my favorites. It's an album where I feel like the 10 songs do work really, really well together, but they also feel distinctive as well. It's got a kind of, this album is quite good because it's got a consistent sound and production to it, but every song feels slightly different like at like the same time. Like it really doesn't get boring like this album, and I think that is also helped like by like its rather lean and like running length too. It's an album where you can just tell the band are having fun and like having a blast like making it. They're not taking themselves too seriously. I think almost kind of, perhaps leaving Virgin Records has kind of liberated them, and kind of to just sort of be the band that they kind of, I guess, want to be. So if they want to write a song about a kind of like sort of like Plastic Gorilla, like they can do, yeah, you know, or collaborate with various like artists and that, like, I mean, like they've got the freedom now to kind of basically do like whatever like they please. I mean, these are not deep songs by any means really, but they've kind of, they've built up like a reputation, like a confidence over 5 albums where they can really, I guess on here, just let the hair down. I mean, they've got a fair bit off it, and just like basically just make a record like exactly the way that they want to. So anyway, that's been my review of Gary by Blossom. So definitely for me a contender for my album of the year, no doubt. So yes, I hope you have enjoyed the review, and I will see you all next time for the next video. Goodbye.
Mr. Scott.